I don't know if you guys remember where you were uh, when that all went down. I sure do. Um, it's irony. I was working on an offshore rig. What nonsense is over here? No sound? Shoot. Yeah, I tried to set up the microphone to pick up the sound. I may not have done it right, guys. Um, I remember, shoot, the I had just come in from offshore, and my helo landed probably midnight the night before, and I was, to be honest, I remember being dog shit. Hey, Sandwich, how you doing? Loretta, Joe. I remember being super tired, and I came in late. Ate lunch because you work weird shifts on a rig, and I was done, so I went to bed. Got up in the morning, and Bear in the Big Blue House was on both TVs because that's what my kids wanted to watch. And you guys remember that Big Blue House? No, Joe, you're absolutely right. And I just, sorry about the sound. I will put the video in there for you guys. Actually, the link so y'all can watch it if you so inclined. But I remember, I came in from offshore that night. I got up in the morning, got a cup of coffee, and I said, I'm going to go take a shower because when you're 12 hours off from the world on your body clock, you just feel terrible. And I went into the shower, and I just came out. I'm literally in my skivvies with a towel around me, and I walk into the kitchen to get some more coffee, and from the other room I hear, babe, come here. Something's wrong. So I turned the corner, and she said, my wife said, a plane hit the World Trade Center. How weird is that? Like, how do you not see that? And, we're kind of confused. What we didn't realize, we were actually seeing a replay or footage out of order. So it was a little bit later. Keep in mind, we're a couple hours later than New York City here in Texas. So we were living in Louisiana at the time. So we're in a different time zone. So we're like an hour ahead. And I said, man, that's happened before, right? In the 1950s, a B-25 hit the Empire State Building in a fog, but it doesn't happen much nowadays. And it happened. And I'm sitting there going, man, that's really not right. And as we're sitting there looking at the TV, they flipped to the Pentagon. I don't remember the order. They were going back and forth. The news, I guess we were a little bit behind. And I said, let me grab a coffee. I'll come right back. And I ran, and she said they hit the Pentagon. And my reply to her, according to her, was fuck, we're being attacked. And she said, you think? And I said, yeah. No way those things could happen like that. I didn't realize at the time we were seeing video from an hour before. And when they brought up the live feed, both towers were burning. And then I kind of, it was weird because I was seeing the first plane hit on a video and then the Pentagon. So I kind of saw it out of order. And it took an hour of us sitting there staring to kind of make heads or tails of it. Guys, that was just something else. And after that, we rolled into what basically became ongoing conflict for 20 years. Joe was I was in church school, not happy. No, buddy. And and my brother was a Navy guy. He was in the Pacific. And the first thing you think, anybody who's been in a military family, is they're not just doing it here. Something else is happening. Of course, I tried to call them. Phones were gone because everybody, of course, the whole country by then, because again, we're a little bit behind the hours. And Yeah, and this is true, Joe. This was an ongoing thing. Like we should have probably seen this one coming, but we didn't. We did not see it coming. The irony is now, 20 years later, we look back and find out that the NSA knew this, and the FBI knew this, and the CIA had heard this, and whatever FAA knew this, and nobody connected the dots. And that changed the world, guys, because they created this monstrosity called the Department of Homeland Security and incorporated all these entities. But in doing so, our sense of country, but also our privacy disappeared. And again, this is just my opinion. This is just me probably pontificating. I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same way. It never was the same after that. I did finally reach my brother a few weeks later, and he told me, I'm good. I can't talk. Click. And I was like, okay, he's still alive. He's all good. He told me later, he said, for those of you who've been in the Navy, I'm not a Navy guy, so I wouldn't know. He said there was a commotion in the hall. He was in his rack, and he said there was a commotion in the hall, and I was passed out, and he said I was about to start yelling at whoever was making noise, and he said a Marine busts in, because the Marines were on kind of like on patrol, they were on duty, they were on watch. A Marine runs in. He said the guy's got his boots, his skivvies, body armor, and a crooked hat with a rifle, and he goes, "Get your asses out of your racks. We're under attack." And he was yelling up and down the hall. And of course, then my brother said his ship, I think it was the Russell. I might be wrong. Hey, Lucky Dame Sharon, where she was. Turned on the TV and we watched live on the second plane. Yeah. And I don't know, Lucky, did you at that moment think that first you're, holy cow, we're being attacked, and then you take a second and you compute and you go, those people, there are people in there. This is a work day. And I'm looking, and I'd been in the World Trade Center. I grew up in the city, so I remember the stairwells were in the middle, and I'm like, man, if they're lucky, they can, get down the middle. But apparently a lot of folks did get cut off because of the fuel that just blew over. And it doesn't take a temperature to fail the steel. It just takes enough to fail the supports, and everything starts getting wonky. And, down it came. A lot of people have theories as to what exactly happened. All I can tell you is that I was looking at that going, holy cow, the people in those buildings, how the hell are they going to get out? Because to get up, I don't know if any of you have been in the World Trade Center before it came down, but yeah. No. And listening to the audio after the fact, and it was years before they liberated or declassified the audio of these people in there, and they knew, you look down. I can't, if you haven't been to a building that big, it's really hard to describe the profoundness of the engineering craziness. And Stephanie, I don't know what the hell happened, to be honest, but all I know is a lot of people died that day. And no, and you can't get it out of your head. I'll be honest with you. It's really something else to kind of witness something like that. So out here in my part of Texas, the Chris Kyle Memorial is on Highway 20 going toward El Paso. And we just happened to be headed out there. And there were fire trucks from at least 4 different departments plus police. And hey, Pilgrim, what's going on? And And Lucky, it's funny you say that, because I don't know if when I saw the first video of the Pentagon, I looked at it, and again, I'm an engineering guy, and I'm looking at the way the smoke was rising, and I said, because then they finally focused on the Pentagon, and I said, that looks like a truck bomb, because it looked exactly like what happened in Beirut. And we had studied that in a civil engineering class. I'm not a civil engineer, but I had taken some of those classes for structures. And we're like, yeah. And then when they told me that it was a plane, it was just really weird. Again, it's like JFK's assassination. I bet there's stuff that happened that we don't know happened and we won't know for another 10, 20 years. But it's sad, guys. So anyway, I drove past the Chris Kyle Memorial, and they had taken 2 ladder trucks like this with their towers, and they put a big flag between it, and there were pickup trucks, cars. Somebody brought a damn tractor. I don't know. I guess his car didn't start. A lot of people. And they were just there, and there were several preachers. They were on a little podium, and you could see they had a microphone. I couldn't hear what they were saying because I was on the highway, and they were talking, and you could see there was a whole affair there. And then shortly after, they opened the farmers market in the county, and it was funny seeing how many flags I saw today, and it was kind of refreshing, guys. I gotta tell you. But yeah, I remember standing in my boxers with a towel around me, and my kids looking at the TV going, that building's on fire, because they were little. They didn't know there was smoke coming out of the building. They need a fire truck. The mind of a child is just something amazing. But regardless of what we think may or may not have happened, the bottom line is a lot of people suffered. Angry Prepper, I remember he said on one of his lives he was an EMT. And could you imagine, he was a much younger guy at the time. Could you imagine him, hey, Q, how are you? Driving up to that and just seeing this? Because he's about we're within a couple of years of each other, and just, pulling up and looking at this and going, what the hell? It's like the abyss. So it's interesting to see what exactly it's too profound. 20 years. It does not seem like it, but lo and behold, something happened, guys. And yeah, what was it? 343, Lucky? I can't remember. 343, I think it was. That was God. Now I feel bad. I can't remember how many it was. But hey, JH, how are you? Hey, Monique. So I just wanted, again, I know we've probably beaten this subject to death, but I did want to at least show that video just so we remember what happened. As people who are trying to be prepared in life, the bigger question is, what can we learn? What can we take away from what happened that day? And that's something we I'm looking for an article here. That's something that, I guess we all need to ponder a little bit. But in any case, I'm going to, hold on a second here. I'm having a bit of a, Lucky, you got a second? And Pilgrim? I don't know if Pilgrim's still on there. I saw him a little earlier. But it's just really profound to see that guy. Now, you know me, guys. I like to look back at footage and look at what can we learn. So, Lucky, Pilgrim, if you're still on there, everybody kind of blew by, so I didn't get a good look at who else was in there. But If either of you are still on, you're more than welcome to click the link. I probably, once again, I've caught you guys off guard. You're probably running around looking for your headset. But while we're at it, I want to, I'm going to show this video. Again, I can hear the video here. I have the fancy mic my daughter got, but apparently it's not picking up the sound behind me. So I'm kind of at a loss why it's not playing nicely. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to play this, but this time I want us to back away. Joe, honestly, true story, my dad was a Cold War soldier, the Korean War era vet. He had me and my brother late in life, but he was a Depression era kid, so he told us a lot of stories. And he often told us about how many of soldiers he knew in the 50s and 60s who got exposed to radiation and died thereafter. And all of a sudden there was a convenient warehouse fire that basically destroyed all the records from like 55 to 68. And he looked at me and goes, some son of a bitch burned that shit. And, you know, at the time I was funny, you know, hearing that from him. But, you know, now I'm being an older guy, like thinking back, I'm going, someone did, didn't they, Dad? So interesting. But guys, I want to back out. I'm going to show a piece of footage. This is again 9/11, but now let's look at it from a learning standpoint. Okay, what happened here? Hold on. Hey, Lucky, hold on. Lucky's there, and howdy.
Hello.
Are you
I'm there. Sorry, I had to click my mic off. I was trying to close up the other window. How you doing?
good? Good. How are you?
Doing all
I'm
right.
glad you could join me today.
Yeah. Pretty emotional stuff. So I get pretty emotional with it. I don't generally talk about it because you know, it's hard to remember even 20 years on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. And I mean, it's weird because not only did my brother wind up there and Mr. wound up there, if I recall correctly, or that part of the world,
mm-hmm.
but here we are 20 years later, my son's out there. You know, it's just, how weird is this? I mean, who made the money? It just, is that a terrible thing to say?
No, I'm laughing because that's exactly what Mr. says. His answer for most everything is when I ask, and it's sometimes redundant, you know, why this, why that, what makes people do, why da. He'll say, follow the money. Mm-hmm. Follow the money. And that's usually pretty much, that's pretty good advice for everything, guys. Follow the money.
Yeah. It's really
which is
profound looking back.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, Joe pointed out earlier, Lucky, that, you know, these guys, most of them were Saudi.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to, we
what
got
country
attacked.
did we go to? Yeah.
We went to Iraq.
Yeah.
Afghanistan made sense. When we went in there, special forces, go find bin Laden, that made sense to me.
Yeah.
Why'd we go to Iraq? Somebody,
at the time, nobody really cared about it. It was, I think we were all still highly emotional at the time. I can remember, you know, hearing we've bombed wherever, you know, it was, I can't remember anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and thinking good, you know, and this reaction that I had was like, good, kill the son of a bitches, you know. That was my, sorry, I want to swear in your channel.
No, that's fine.
I swear on mine all the time.
I was doing it the other day,
so, you know, but that kind of emotional reaction, you know, and looking back now, you have to wonder, well, I mean, is that planned to, you know, why did we go over there?
So it's funny, people don't realize, you go to the Vietnam War, right? It was stop communism. Mm-hmm. And JH has an interesting theory. Baby Bush wanted to fix his Daddy Bush's screw up. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think Daddy Bush did the right thing. He beat him up and left him alone. I think Junior screwed up when he went in there and took down the regime. The Al-Qaedas and Iran were scared of Hussein. He kind of balanced them out. And once he was gone, it just, everything fell. But yeah, That she's got a good point. JH has got a good point. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just
Things to think about. I mean,
yeah,
looking back, like I said, 20 years later, and it just, in a lot of ways, to me, it doesn't feel like 20 years. You
no,
know, I get guys, for anyone in the chat, depending on how old you are, when you get to a certain, I was thinking this earlier today, actually. I think maybe when we get to a certain age or a certain point in our life, 20 years ago, it doesn't feel like that for something
no.
that like this, a major event. I mean, I remember it just almost as fresh and clear as the day I sat there and watched it, you know, and every emotion I felt and all of that is still just as fresh and just under the skin as it was then, you know.
Yeah. Monique's absolutely
Oh
right
yeah.
too. So we messed with Libya, or really the French messed with Libya
Yeah.
more. Interesting theory I got told by a friend who's from that part of the world, who now lives here, and he's a working professional, and he said Qatar had a contract for oil and gas in Libya, and Total from France had a contract, and then the Libyans gave it all to Qatar and kicked the French out. For whatever reason, it was money or business, and the French got salty and decided um, Gaddafi needs to go. And lo
Mm-hmm.
and behold, you notice the most of the beating up in Libya was the EU, not the Americans. We were kind of supporting them.
Right.
He swears up and down. He said somebody made a deal and pissed the French off or the Brits, and they came and beat them up and kicked them out so they could consolidate. But then it didn't work out.
Mm.
interesting,
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
interesting theories. But well, Lucky. So, what do you think we could learn from this? I mean, looking back,
Oh
obviously,
man.
20 years, folks like us can't do anything. Uh, what what could all of us take away from something like this? Like you walk out of the office, you walk out of work. Congrats, you just started a new job, didn't you?
I work from home. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
congrats. Well, it doesn't matter. A job's a
Yeah. It was
job,
a
no matter where it
Yeah, I would
is.
say jobs from job. Yeah. Well, and I mean, yeah, as I'm going to get into and depending what happens with Potato's speech the other night, I may actually be losing my job.
Oof.
We'll
All right.
find
Well,
we'll find out. Yeah.
fingers
Right.
crossed that doesn't happen and you stay
Yeah.
gainfully employed.
Exactly.
But looking back, okay, so you're at work or you go to
Mm-hmm.
Walmart or you go to the office or whatever, and
Come
you
out
walk
to
out and
this.
see something like this. And
I'm
I
going the
mean,
opposite direction. It's my first thought is run the opposite direction, but there is a big part of me as well that screams at me to run into it and help people, and
right.
that drives Mr. crazy. He wants me away from it. I'm also the one that wanted to when Harvey hit down South Texas. I was desperate to go down there to help people. You know, it's like I have training, I can help. I can get in with the Cajun Navy. I had some contacts, and
Yeah.
he's the one holding me back. I'm like, no, I have to help people. He's like, no, you need to stay here. You need to sit your butt down.
So
You
yeah,
know, but
it's
something like this, if I walked out and I saw something like that, or it's honestly, it's run, hide, get away, run away from it, wait for whatever to settle, and then you have to constantly. Oh man, I would think being in the middle of something like that, you'd have
yeah,
to constantly be assessing and reassessing nonstop, because the reality of it is, you can't help other people if you're making yourself a liability, if you make yourself a victim.
right. No,
So, and
absolutely.
it's so sad. Yeah, people are going to be hurt. People are going to die, and that's
So
not an easy thing. But yeah.
looking at this, I know
Mhm.
we've had our great debates, all of us in the preparedness community about masks and whatnot, but in a case like this, an N95 mask might be a really great thing to have.
I would say a respirator,
Yeah.
the half face or the full face respirator. Yeah, I mean, 20 years ago, I in preparedness? Yes, but not nearly to the extent I am now.
Oh no,
I had some
I
stuff.
agree.
Nowadays, what I have in, what we keep in our vehicles, even if we're around town, we have our respirators. So, we would be okay. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they would get clogged up, but yeah, I remember watching that, and when when the
Yeah.
footage came out where people were recording, and they showed when they were downtown in New York and the dust and everything blowing out down the street and they couldn't see, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, they're breathing that. What all that, everything that's in that dust, those huge particulates that are going to
Oh
just tear up
yeah.
their
And I mean,
lungs and,
the towers were built in what, they started them in the late 60s, finished them
oh,
in 72, 73.
I think so. I'd have to defer to you on
Oh,
that. I don't
you
know.
know there had to have been asbestos in that. I mean,
You
what
would
was
hope they did
used?
abatement, but probably not. I mean, you can't do
Well,
abatement
even
on a
if they
whole.
did, I mean, just yeah, you're
The
right. I mean,
chemicals,
just the
even without,
sheetrock.
yeah, just sheetrock, anything that has been basically vaporized is pulverized from, you've got the jet fuel, you've got, I mean, I don't want to get into all that
So
stuff, but
no,
yeah.
well, I saw this picture, and again, my engineering mind goes, "The building's unstable. Run away!" Like, why are you taking
Yeah.
this
Well,
picture?
seeing, but that's your engineering there. It's like I wouldn't have thought. I would look at it and be like, "Oh crap," and it probably would occur to me, "Ooh, fire, get away from that," I
Right?
when I saw it, I never expected the towers to collapse. When I saw that when the first one
No.
started to go and I saw it, and I'm going to describe it this way because this is how it looked to me. I saw it blow out on the sides.
Yeah,
Uh,
it almost like
yeah, and it came straight down.
you know.
Honestly, at the time, and I was not in any kind of a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy anything. Honestly, when I saw it blow out, my first thought was, "Oh my god, is that a detonation?" And then I
Well,
thought, "No, that's
yeah.
crazy. That can't be," and then later there came all these theories of what could have possibly, alternate theories of what
So
happened.
I've seen things like pillars and structures under bridges fail where they blow outward, and
Right.
that's a compressional failure, right? It blows
Exactly.
outward.
Yeah.
But if
It
one
was
floor, I wonder if okay, so
it
again, I wonder if they screwed up the design, and the floor below there was no plan of, oh well, what if these three floors fall on this one? Can this one floor hold it?
yeah, I don't know. I'd
And
have
I
to
mean,
go
we
back and
won't
look at
know
it all.
now. I mean,
Oh yeah, no, nothing, everything's gone.
so I remember seeing this guy, and this was profound because this and seeing this at the time I was offshore, so we had all our gear and kits. And
Mhm.
then as I transitioned into the office gigs, yeah, this is an interesting. You
Yeah, I
know
just
that I
saw
wouldn't
that.
be surprised, JH. That yeah, and it's funny because I'm looking at this guy. And to this day, after everything that's happened with the Rona and the poke and
Mm.
riots and this is what started it all. Do people go to their office and actually think, wow, if I have to evacuate, I need a little ready bag?
A lot of people did after that for a very long time. I had a friend who lived there at the time, and she watched all of it happen from the roof of her building.
Mhm. There was a reporter I'd gone to school with. She was looking, and she worked for a local paper, and her photographer had opened the window, and they were in Brooklyn, opened the window and was taking pictures. And he goes, how are those people getting out of there?
Yeah.
Um, you know, nobody, like, I wonder if people still do. I think we've gotten kind of disconnected from this. Like, we see it and it's sad, but I think there's a lot of people who don't realize it.
I think there are people who carry go bags now or ready bags in their car going back and forth to work, but it's more of like a get home bag. But I don't, 20 years later, they're not thinking of it in terms of,
No.
oh, because of like what happened there. It's 20 years. There's another generation now, people who have gone to
Yeah.
work, and time makes things fade a bit in your minds. I think a lot of people now are back to the thinking of, well, that was,
20
Uh,
years
it
ago
was 20
in
years ago,
another.
but also I don't want to say like a fluke, but it was a big thing that's not going to happen. It'd be like, if Pearl Harbor happened again. What are the
Right.
chances of a major, major event like that happening? What are the chances? It's like, well, what were the chances of it happening to begin with? Not just one plane, but two. Well, three, really, Pentagon, and then the one that was grounded in
And then the one that
Pennsylvania.
they got in a fight and
Yes, that they grounded. Yeah, that they
they
took it.
crashed.
Yeah, that they took it to the ground in Pennsylvania.
So I
So,
did, what's this?
I mean, as
Uh,
far as what we can learn from it, man, I honestly, I've never thought of it in terms of that. What can I learn from this? My first instinct is to say, "Be prepared," but that seems a
Oh,
little
wow.
cliche, you know?
Yeah.
Turn
Well,
the towers to
and, you
ruins.
know, you
Wow.
can't bring,
Oh
JH,
gosh.
that's
That's wow, wow, wow.
but she came home, and that's bueno.
Yeah. 2 days
Um,
before it happened. Yeah. I mean, my
I
friend just
remember my brother, it's funny because again, he was in Pearl Harbor, which immediately nobody knew at the time what that happened, right? We were attacked.
right.
And he said that destroyer, you know, they're supposed to, and you've been to Galveston, you live here in Texas. So, you know, you don't, big ships aren't supposed to haul ass out of the port, right?
No.
Because the weight knocks all the little boats down.
Right.
He was on a anti-aircraft destroyer, one of the Aegis
Mhm.
or Aegis. And he said, we were going so fast, we're knocking over the small boats.
I
We
would say they
capsized
floored it.
several of them.
Yeah.
He said they floored it. And as he was going out of Pearl, he
Mhm.
said radar's up, everything was up. Guys and girls running around like in t-shirts, sports bras, pants, boots. It was just discombobulation. They're running out. And he said, I heard this roar, and I was like, it sounded like locusts. And he looked behind, and he said, every helicopter in the Marine base took off at one time and went in different directions, just boom.
Oh my god.
And
Yeah.
but he said, you know, we went out, and he said we just went so fast. And then about an hour later, one of his chiefs, because he was a young sailor, his chief said, I think those fishermen are kind of pissed at us.
I bet, but probably
But
understand too. They probably understand at the same time
right.
if they weren't aware of the news once they saw, they probably went, "Oh shit, that's what happened." You know, or
And
where were they going? Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
But you know, like you look at this guy, right? Um,
yeah.
and a lot of people were like that. And I'm afraid today we've become somewhat disconnected. Those that didn't experience this firsthand, like Jason was physically somewhere out there,
He
right?
was
For
actually
Bengal Trapper.
there. Yeah, he was
He was
actually
there.
there.
My
Yeah.
sensei from my old school was a detective in Manhattan.
Mhm.
And he said that I heard after the fact, he ran from John Jay College of Criminal Justice down. And he
Wow.
was a Vietnam vet. So he survived freaking Vietnam. And here he goes.
Yeah.
And they were pulling people out of the subway tunnels because they
Yeah.
couldn't get close. The firemen stopped them. They're like,
Right.
you go there, you're going to get killed. So they went into the subway. They're pulling people out. And then his partner came out and he didn't. And he'd
Mm.
gotten hit by a piece of concrete and was laid out in the tracks. And they had to go back and get him.
Oh lord.
And, you know, if you didn't go through that firsthand,
Yeah,
like you said, it's 20 years, people will get disconnected. And I think we have
exactly. You get
a new
complacent
generation.
who think that's something that's like a once in a lifetime major event that's not going to happen to me, or that happened in a major city, New York, you know, where I live is not a target. It's not going to happen,
Right.
you know, and things happen in small areas. It doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
major city, you know. Um,
But what could this poor guy, I mean, you look, he's in a suit. So, like, I have a change of, I have work boots. They're steel toes, but they're, you know, black leather
right.
working boots in my truck. Even if I'm in suit and tie in Dallas or Houston and something goes on, I make it to my truck. I have a whole change of clothes in there that I can
You've got
be
appropriate
much more
gear to get out.
functional than this.
Yeah, same here. We keep we actually sorry, I'm getting feedback. Um,
Okay.
we've got a
It might
change
be.
of clothes and shoes that we keep in our go bags that stay in the car, along with our masks and filters and, you know, other things as well. But we both got new pair of boots,
Yeah.
just good daily, you know, that can good for walking, hiking, whatever, just kind of an
Right.
all-purpose. A few months ago, before the whole, you know, rubber shortage and shoe shortage thing started up. So,
Yeah.
but
That's been interesting for sure.
yeah,
But
but yeah, good socks, good clothing, you know, pair of pants. For me, I always tried to keep a pair of pants at least in the car because when I was working in an office, I tend to wear a lot of skirts and dresses. That's just what I
right,
like.
office attire. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I just prefer skirts and dresses. But if I got to hoof it, I'm putting on a pair of pants under that skirt or
So
dress, you know.
when my sister worked downtown, she always kept running shoes.
Hmm.
And I thought she said it was for comfort. And then finally one day, years later, right, we all left the city, we all moved south. And she told me, my oldest sister, she's like, well, she had a guy grab her and she tried to run in heels and the heel
Yeah.
broke.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if it wasn't for like a local baker came out with with a rolling pin threatening to club the guy, you know, she could have gotten hurt.
Right.
And she said, to hell with that. The minute she was done with work, the sneakers went on.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a bit of genius. It was meant as convenience, but her SHTF was a mugging,
Right.
not this. But yeah, I mean, you look at this guy, and look at the guy in the background or girl. I can't tell what it is back here. That person's got like a whole backpack. Like that person was fully equipped. I may have been a college student for all we know.
Yeah, as I say, or it could have been just any, in the city. I say the city like I've ever lived in New York. Mister did for a while, Jamaica, Queens.
Oof, I'm sorry.
I
used
guess
to get
he
in
liked it
fights in
okay.
Jamaica is what I used to do.
I say I don't think he ever had any trouble. I think he was all right, but he worked in New York for a while.
Yeah.
But as a security guard, and that was after 9/11. When 9/11
once upon a
happened, he said that
time-
actually made him want to become a cop. And he said by that time, he said the wait list to work for NYPD was so long. He said it wasn't even worth trying to get on the list.
Yeah.
But
I believe it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of interesting just looking back at some of that footage, and you see these folks, and I think we're almost there again. I hate to say it, but you know, I honestly think for every person like you or I, or I keep other tools in my go bag. Well, yeah, that as well. But keep in mind, Joe, and Joe raises a good point. In certain environments, I have to adapt, right? I can't do that in an airplane, right?
No.
I'll get in trouble. I could fly with a firearm or an implement, but I have to check it in. I have to go through a lot of hoorah to get to the other side.
Right.
But also suit and tie carry versus weekend in Texas carry versus Louisiana Bayou carry, very different.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, these are good things. Angry mob, which we've seen this last year.
Oh, we saw all the angry mobs. Well, peaceful protesters mostly last year.
Yeah, peaceful protesters, and they're running around like behind them with things on fire, which is
play stupid. Was it play stupid games, win stupid prizes?
Basically,
yeah.
It blows my mind. But so, I mean, this is something for all the viewers to kind of take away is, you know, keep in mind this kind of stuff
it's always a
happened this last year.
Yeah.
Right. It happened 20 years ago. Something could always occur that will bite us.
Or can delay you getting home, can make it very difficult for you to get where you need to go. You know, I mean, everything was freaking shut down in New York City. Everyone came out across what I would say the bridge, but which bridges, everyone walked out. I remember my friend Jennifer told me, she said, we had to walk out, and they would only when they evacuated people, she said they came and banged on their apartment door and said, get out. And they could only take like one bag. She told us.
Yeah.
And she said they couldn't bring their pets. They had their cats. So she said they opened every can of cat food in the apartment that they had and left it for the cats.
Dumped it in a bowl and left it for the cat.
She said they just left it all over the apartment, cans of cat food open. They had water, and they had to leave, and they had to leave like immediately. It was not, I'll be with you in 20 minutes. It was no, right damn now. But I would say, yeah, definitely, everyone should have a bag.
Yeah.
If nothing else, a pair of decent shoes that you can walk in that aren't going to rub your feet raw, socks to go with it. If you can put a change of clothes in there, definitely water. I still do carry a gallon jug of water in my car, and I do rotate it out because I do. But a gallon jug of water, if you can have granola bars. I can't do nuts, so I have other things that I put in my bag. Snacks, something like that. You don't have to put MREs or Mountain House freeze-dry food or anything in there. No. Peanut butter crackers, guys. Whatever will work. A can of tuna, even. I think Tribe says he puts a can of tuna and crackers in his because that's what works. And
tuna and crackers, really, they won't go bad. I mean, they have an expiration, but chances are maybe the tuna I get sketchy with if it passed expiration, but the crackers, I mean,
as long as it's sealed up, it's fine. As long as it's not dented. Yeah, the crackers will take on the plastic taste after a while, so I'd cycle those out.
But they're still edible for sure. But even like an empty water bottle, one of my bags, I have the empty water bottle. It's one of those round mouth ones, the big ones.
The Nalgene,
and then I put the the little Sawyer with the little bag and everything in there, and then I closed it, and it goes in the pouch.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, guys, this
Yeah,
is
for
the
sure, a
kind of
water
thing to
filter,
think
because
about. Uh,
I'd say a
if
couple of
you,
bottles of water,
yeah,
if nothing else, because even if you had a Sawyer with something like this, you may not be able to find a water source to,
right,
and your filter would get so freaking clogged. Oh my gosh.
right. A
You know?
silcock key also in case you have municipal water. Um, And also, you got to be careful what your water source is, because even if you have a Silcock and a Sawyer, you don't want to go to industrial water that
Yeah.
says non-potable,
Right.
because the filter will take out certain things, but not chemicals, and
Right.
you wind up ingesting that. But yeah, that was a really profound thing to see. Looking back earlier today, just watching these videos, and these folks were absolutely, flattened.
Hmm.
They didn't really know what to do.
Well, and in that situation too, I can only imagine, I mean, the absolute disbelief, the emotion, everything. I mean, heck, we watched it on TV, not even being there most of the rest of the country. And I mean, like I said, I was just floored. I was like, oh my God, we're under attack,
Yeah.
you know?
And so, guys, there's a lot we can learn. I mean, I would encourage you. I mean, it is emotional, as Lucky pointed out. You know, this has touched a lot of lives and touched them for 20 years. I mean, those 13 young men and women who came home last week or this week, they're still coming home. Um, that's the tail end of that, really. But watch those videos, but try and walk, and it's difficult. Walk away and look at it objectively and say, what would I have done if I were that guy in the suit? I mean, he's dragging a bag. He didn't have a backpack, nothing.
Hmm.
Um, my computer bag is a backpack, and
Hmm.
people ask me, well, why do you have a first aid kit in there? And it's like, when you ask me for a Band-Aid, stupid,
Hmm. I'm laughing because my purse that I started carrying it to keep track of
Mhm.
Mr.'s meds and things, like, because I need something bigger than just my cutie purse. It's
Yeah,
utilitarian. It's basically a backpack on a strap, crossbody, but it
yeah.
works, and I can carry all kinds of
Um,
stuff in it, and I do.
my wife is a big fan of the Consuelas. And if you're from the South, you've seen a Consuela purse. They're these massive things with really colorful. You could fit the dog in the purse, but
Well, my dog would
um,
like that.
yeah, things like extra shoes, even pull-on shoes like the flip-flops or something. Flip-flops, not really. I
Just
forgot
any
what they're
pair of
called.
a decent lace-up shoe so that you're
Yeah,
not gonna run out of it or walk out of it, or it won't flop off your foot,
right.
especially in the summertime, when it's still hot out and we're wearing sandals and stuff, or beach shoes.
Yeah, and guys, look, if you have an old pair of sneakers that you're thinking of retiring, um, wipe them down and stick them in the back of your car.
Mhm. Yeah.
They'll be good enough for that one walk home in an emergency. Because when I lived in Houston, we actually, were a couple of guys who were responders, military. A lot of them thought like we do,
Mhm.
and we were joking. Well, you have to walk this way, and we sat down. We went into the conference room and pulled up the big screen on a laptop, and we said, "Well, how long would it take to walk to your house?" And none of us had less than a 7 to 8 hour walk
Yeah.
from downtown, and that's assuming we just did a straight 2 mile an hour walk. No fires, no floods, no riots, just
No peaceful protesting, no
right,
chaos.
exactly.
Yeah.
No chemicals where you're like, oh, that's on fire. There's things I have to turn and go 2 miles this way to turn north or go south.
Right.
And that was eye opening when we did that.
Mhm.
And I know at least one of the ladies in the office after that had a pair of sneakers under her desk.
Good. Yeah, but
So,
but if you don't think about things like that, when we as people who are in preparedness, as Josh likes to say, people of a preparedness mindset,
yeah,
when you talk about things like that, or and if it comes on the tail end or behind a major event like that, unfortunately, and saying,
yeah,
hey, what would we do? Or, oh boy, look how far I'd have to go if something happened. Or even if, my car broke down in the middle of nowhere. My drive to work used to be it's very rural. So if anything happened, I had a
right,
20-mile walk. I mean, literally
right.
20 miles to get home through a very rural area. So,
Right. And then you just have, hey, D9, and then you just have the risk of getting hit by a car,
Yeah.
you know, something like that. So, there's a lot to be learned from that footage. And I won't show anymore
Yeah.
because it is kind of depressing, but I encourage everyone, you get a chance, just look at it, but try to back away from the personal hurt and just look at, if you were there, or if you were that person, what did you lack? What did that person need?
What would you have wanted if you had been in that
Right.
situation? What would they have wanted? Like, I look at that man and he's just, I can't even begin to imagine the emotions and the, just everything. And he's dusty and dirty and he's dragging his jacket and just looks defeated.
Yeah.
I thought, I look at him and I think, I bet he would love a bottle of water right now, something to drink and just sit down, and maybe a granola bar, something to eat. Because in an extreme situation like that, you're not always going to feel hunger or thirst. It's not
No.
it's not going to register with you. You may have to force yourself to eat and drink. In fact, you probably will have to force yourself to eat and drink because of the adrenaline dump. And it's just not going to register with you.
And you also need to think, in a place like New York, there's a lot of little shops, for those of you who've never been in Manhattan. In Queens, Brooklyn, it was a bit different. But, excuse me, guys, you're walking. I'd be also thinking, can I buy a bandana if I don't have a mask? Can I get a hoodie? Can I get a battery somewhere? You start looking, and I guess we even preppers, we pack our bags and we don't think of the scavenging part. And not that you should steal things from people, have some cash if you can, but you walk up to a store that's burnt out and on the floor, and there's something there that might be useful. You might find something on the floor that you might say, wow, that would make a great walking stick,
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, that guy's picture was very profound, because you're right. He did look defeated. He's just dragging stuff like a toddler with their toys.
I mean, yeah, the body language, the slumping, I look at it and just see tired, defeated, and maybe I can just project my own emotions onto it of, disbelief and, any number of things. But the first thing I think is, is because it looks hot, and because I think the smoke is what makes it look hot to me. I equate it with heat, and I think, I bet he'd like a glass of water right now.
Right. Well,
maybe a
dehydration
granola
will
bar or
definitely set
something.
in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then you also have to start thinking Manhattan got locked in, because I knew people who literally could not leave Manhattan for 3, 4, 5 days. So then it begs the question, how do you sustain? Do you have water? Do you have food? A Silcock Key in the city, the water wasn't shut off.
Right.
That would have been a great way. I mean, it's New York City tap water isn't Avion, but it's drinkable and it's clean.
Yeah.
So, you can get by. That's a great time. You find a spigot and the water's not brown. You wash your face, kind of get your composure, fill all your bottles.
You probably make friends too if you have one of those, put some water for folks. So
and then
nice way to network.
And I think we underappreciate the networking. The YouTubers don't, because that's part of what we do. But being able to network, I mean, think about it. You have 5 people at that spigot who are all in the same boat as you. And then, well, hey, what do you do? If he's an electrician and this one's a nurse and that one's, a construction guy, well, hell, where can we find some resources? And then you start
talking. When it's a major city, like I said, I lived in Atlanta. I can only imagine, although Atlanta was kind of, I don't know if it's as crazy as New York, but you said you had pulled a piece in Atlanta on someone once, but I can imagine, going up in that kind of a situation, got water and people start kind of coming out and, hey, have you found any of this? Or do you know where I can get that? Or somebody? Or
right. And then also, especially if you travel like I do, you can start asking the locals, hey, I need to get to the airport, or I need to get to this destination. If I can't go this way, where else can I go? And then you could start getting information. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's definitely something important. I like Monique's thing, a bottle of water and 2 values.
Yeah. I'm sure you're going to like those. I don't know that I would recommend having that. And, while you're still in the middle of a situation, I'd wait until you got to a safe place for any meds that you may need to consume. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and you want to be functional, and that's important too.
Yeah.
you don't want to dull your senses. You want to at least be cognizant of what's going on.
Yeah, because
But
the threat may not be over.
right. And that's, again, guys, so if you get a chance and you have the volition to do it, because it is tough to watch,
Yeah.
look at some of this footage. Obviously, the people stuck in the buildings is nothing that was just awful. But the folks on the ground that were just running around in a panic, there were a couple, if you watch the footage, and I couldn't find the video again, there was two young, it was like a young guy and a young girl. They looked very granola, like backpacky.
Mm-hmm.
But they had these beautiful little backpacks, and they were gathering their friends, and they were giving instructions, and all of the friends were nodding. And I'm like, okay, they're getting organized. They're like,
Yep.
okay, something's happened.
That was
We're
their
going to work
coping.
together.
Yeah.
And you watch them in one of these videos in the background, they just all run off together. And I'm like, okay, those kids had a plan.
Excellent. Yeah.
And that's what we need to keep in mind, because it's not going to happen when we're sitting at home, all our inventory within 20 feet.
No.
You're going to be in some strange town at 2 a.m.
The worst
and
possible
something
time
happens.
when you
Yeah,
least expect it, in your most uncomfortable clothing, and yeah.
Joe.
Dude,
I have no comment to that one, Joe. We'll leave that one alone.
This is not that kind of show, man.
Hey, now. Gun guy that's prepared. Yeah. I've grown up in a bad area, so. And what's funny is when things get really bad, some people, even the ones you try to avoid, their mindset changes for a bit, where they're like, this is bad. We need to figure something out. But again, you got to be mindful of your environment. Now, Joe raises a good point. During the chaos is when you see these types of people jump out to take advantage. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There will always be people to prey on a bad situation, to prey on others.
Yeah.
And there'll always be, just kind of go back a little bit, talking about, not to go back to the granola girls, but you're talking about the granola people who look like they got their act together. A couple of them they got their shit together, and they were telling everyone else what to do. There's always going to be people who, I'm not judging. There will always be people, regardless if they're granola or not, who they're just able to lead immediately in a bad situation, and to tell other people who need to be led, hey, we do this, come on, let's go, or do that, because not everyone can cope in a bad situation.
No.
A lot of people I've been saying for the last however many months I've had my channel, look at people at the start of last year, and some people are still freaked out by it.
Yeah.
They aren't handling just illness. They can't handle it. They are in denial. They are angry. They're whatever. So a major event,
I think when we did the live the other day, where it was a group of us, and somebody, maybe it was you, who pointed out that there are just some people, they just won't get it. They're like, oh, well, that's past. We're better now.
Yeah, I've said that a few times, because I've had some of my subs say that, actually come in and say their spouse, may have been on board initially or not at all. More of them tend to say not at all, and they're still not, and they say everything's fine. No, you're making a big deal. There are still those people out there. There's a lot more than you realize. A lot more.
Yeah. And those, I'm afraid those will be a problem. Hey, Virginia Ruth, she just popped in.
Hey, Virginia.
And Monique, I'm a Capricorn.
Yep, me too, Monique.
So that's funny. You had a question here.
Uh-oh. It's because some thrive on perpetual fear and cannot understand that there are things worse than what the news is saying. Yeah, definitely.
Well, again, in the news is mom survival. Mom, did you get dinged on that one?
Oh, because you talked about the jab, they won't let you.
Oh, she talked about the pinch.
Yeah, YouTube will not let me upload to my channel because I talked about it. Did you get a strike, or did they shut you down entirely? Like delete you? Well, no, you're here, so they couldn't have deleted. That's a bummer.
So much for freedom of speech, kids.
Well, I saw Bushcraft earlier got a ding. He got a strike for a 9/11. No words, no spoken, just a 9/11 tribute he did. He appealed it, and they immediately rescinded. I was like, geez.
And
anywho,
granted, some of it may be algorithms. It picks up a word and the computer goes bad. and it
Yeah,
just puts it in the bad bucket. And then
exactly.
a person has to go and say, no, that's not really what it, but
Right.
I also think some of it is just suckiness on the part of people.
Agreed.
But
Agreed.
I saw this one, and
Ooh,
I didn't see
hoarders.
that. I found this morning, and it surprised the crap out of me.
Sri
Um,
Lanka.
Sri Lanka is not, I mean, it's not a first world country, but they do have
No.
pretty steady trade and a steady government.
Yeah.
And this concerns me, the hoarders.
Mm.
Now, I know there are people who like buy everything, like that idiot in Pennsylvania who bought $10,000 of hand sanitizer.
I knew you were going to say that one. Yeah.
Yeah, or
But
whoever
that's,
he
I mean,
was.
but that's not preparedness though. However, and I think actually, I think we talked about, somebody asked about hoarding or something when I talked about martial law a month or so ago. I'm trying to remember. I'd have to go back and look. My brain's elsewhere right now, but I think we talked about hoarding and
See, and this
oh yes,
bothered me.
can your supplies be confiscated? It was a follow up I did, and yes, they can be.
Right. And here it's a shortage of essential foods, including rice, sugar, and milk powder in recent months, pushed the
Mm.
government to declare a food emergency, empowering authorities to seize stocks of staples.
Well, and see, that sounds like something similar to what they could do here under martial law. Could supplies be seized? And they can. However, it's not. They're going to be coming and knocking on every door in your neighborhood to residents. They will go to warehouses, businesses, supply. Restaurant supply, that kind of thing,
You're right.
and it would be taken there. I mean, and could it come to residents? Yeah, but by that point, it'd be pretty, pretty, pretty bad. But
Yeah. Oh, hey, we got an update. Mom just posted. I didn't see it. Sorry.
oh,
It says, yes, got striked once. Didn't shut my chat. Oh, no.
even after you got out of jail. Now I've heard. I don't know if you just got out of jail, like today. I think I've
It
heard
may
it can
take a
take a
few
little bit
days
of,
for the
yeah. It may take
system
a few
to.
hours. Yeah. Seems like that's what Pinball said. He's had a couple of strikes, and he says sometimes it takes a hot minute before you can upload. So
Can you appeal, or I guess you could appeal and say, hey, this isn't fair, but I guess she's already out of the penalty box.
right.
But, this is something else to think about. And it's funny because when we went to the farmer's market, I posted it on a short video on both YouTube and Instagram. And, there were so many people canning and selling jelly and all sorts of other stuff. And I'm like, okay, so you're the suckers that bought up all the mason jar. But that's fine. I mean, that's cool. They're doing their thing. But would they go to these poor folks who are trying to make a business?
Small
And
business like that, I wouldn't think so. Not
I
like a
would think
cottage
this would be
industry. I
more
would
like
think major corporations.
warehouses.
Yeah, like
Right,
Walmart, Target,
right.
Sam's,
I would hope not.
Costco.
Well, I mean, if they were going to individual houses, I think,
Things have devolved by that point
well, then
to
there's no government at that point. I
exactly.
think it's just collapsed.
Yeah, we're just about to if something has
Oh,
gotten
but
to
they
that
do
point.
mention here the government will present a new law in Parliament on Tuesday aimed at strengthening consumer protection and increasing penalties on errant traders. So that sounds like somebody bought up a bunch of stuff and is selling it at stupid pricing,
Mm-hmm.
and they got put in they've attracted the government. But still, something to think about.
Oh, I see the rupee having lost 7.7.5% against the dollar, so it's devaluing. Just like the
Yeah,
dollar's devaluing, folks. Prices aren't
yeah,
going up; it's just devaluing.
yeah. You have more dollars, but
Yeah,
the dollars
but
equal
not
less
really.
loaves of bread. Yeah.
I would say, but not really.
Um, no, and this is one of those things. Oh, she got another update from our
Yeah,
friend
I
here.
should see that.
It's been a month,
Yeah,
and
see, yeah, I report the
oh,
news stuff too, and I keep waiting on that because they keep changing the rules. What you say today, even if it's in the news, if they don't like it tomorrow, you still get the strike for it, regardless of if it was in the mainstream.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
probably get myself in trouble. Mom survival. If you can, if they don't kick you off, you're welcome to join us. Don't do what one of my friends did and showed up on a YouTube and like t-shirt and underwear or something. I
Oh
don't know what
goodness.
he was thinking. He showed, actually was a teams meeting, knucklehead. He had like a shirt like this, but he had nothing below, and he
On
forgot.
Teams?
He stood
Oh my
up,
gosh. Oh
and
Lord.
he had boxers, but
Yeah,
of
but
course everyone's in his
still.
company is looking at him going, and then he texts me later. It's like, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm like, well, yeah, I know
Yeah.
that, but what did you do
Yes.
now?
Yeah.
And that's what he had done.
Decisions. That's
But yeah, guys, just again, this is important because Sri Lanka is not a completely backwards country. I mean, it isn't a poorer country, but they are organized. They've been relatively stable for quite a while. And for them to be battling food shortages,
mhm.
this isn't, Somalia, Djibouti, where it's generally an unstable environment. So,
They're a small country, but I mean, they're not.
right.
Hmm.
But look what happened. It's like canary in the cave effect, right? You have a smaller country, sorry, not a company, smaller country. Their value of their currency has taken a flush down the toilet, and they're already declaring a food emergency. So is that something we're going to see in other countries? So that's the guys. That's
Yeah.
something, and we've all been talking about that
Yeah.
on the channels.
No, you said exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, so that's the first small country that's saying
Right.
that has said everyone is saying that they're experiencing shortages to different extents. That's the first one that I've
Right.
seen where they're now going to that extent. That's the next step.
Yeah.
Is
So it's
seizing food.
important. Yeah, it's important to kind of make sure you keep your inventory. I actually did the little freezer video yesterday, and I got a comment saying, "Oh, that's great because my chest freezer is a disaster." Apparently, they did what I did when I was younger. Just you keep throwing crap in there,
Mm-hmm.
and then you swear there's hot dogs in there, but good luck
Yeah.
finding them.
Right.
But Jared, guys, speaking of that, I don't have the paper with me. Okay, so I went to the farmer's market out in West Texas. This is for those of you in Texas, because I know there are about 3 Texans in here. And those, even if you're not in Texas, the ranches have started going farm to market direct. So
Really?
there are a few out here. So you could get what they called a quarter steer or quarter
Uh-huh.
cow.
Yeah.
They estimate $500 to $600 depending on total weight. It
Right.
broke down to $750 a pound.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's more than it used to be for a quarter.
Right, but
But
compared to what you get at the store right now, where
yeah,
it's 11, 12 for the porterhouse,
14.
and
Yeah, 14. I saw at Sam's the other day.
yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, check those farmers markets and talk to the local farms. The guy did say, he said, the smallest quantity to keep that price they'll do is a quarter.
Right.
But he said we have beef throughout the year. So, and I asked him, I said, are you having trouble getting feed? He said, no, we've got a feed supplier in a state over, and we've been trucking on private trucks.
Well, that's
So
good.
these guys basically took their supply chain into their own hands.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna have to.
Right.
They're gonna have to.
But yeah, check those farmers markets because we saw some really good. I got a big thing of honey, like local honey.
Mm-hmm.
It was like $12. You go to Sam's, you get the commercial honey for $12. I'm like,
Yeah.
that works for me. So yeah, check them out. Monique's going to the farmers market tomorrow. Good for you.
Nice. Yeah, the closest ones to us, I don't think they haven't had local ones in our area for a while. I tried going to them and it really wasn't even a farmer's market. I would call it. It was just, a few people who learned how to can and made a few jars of jelly, which is, that's okay. But it was more like just, it was
Yeah.
not a
So
farmer's market. Austin's our
we
closest.
we kind of filled our chest freezer, and we're like, okay, I wish our kids lived a little closer because it's like, well, it's Texas, right? So it's 4 hours to anybody.
Right. Yeah.
But we were like, we should talk to the kids. And once everyone settles back, it'll be like, we can go get the quarter or half and then have everyone come here for the weekend and bring your coolers and everyone take their stuff with them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that would be a great way to cut your costs, guys, and shorten that supply chain.
Yeah, if you've got friends or neighbors or someone who would go in, or family that would go in with you on
Yeah.
a half, if you don't have room for a half, maybe you've only got room for a quarter. Sometimes that half is even cheaper than the quarter.
Yeah.
You know, go in on it and
It's a bulk thing.
share
So
it.
the more
Oh
quantity
yeah.
you buy, the less it costs. And they'll still make their money. But
Mhm.
yeah, guys, shorten those supply chains as much as you can. If you can get local, regional, source it yourself, grow it, trade it. Because the cities are going to get it the worst. You know, the New Yorks, the Chicagos,
Mhm.
you know, Houston, Austin, Dallas, they're kind of cities in the middle of cattle and farm country. They're not going to get hit as bad as the ones that are kind of everything has to get trucked. Those are the ones that'll suffer the most, truly. But, well, gang, before we go, last I checked, oh, look at that. Oh, wow, that's a really
Wow,
good price.
that's excellent.
Virginia roots, $4 per beef. Was that ground or like steak? Because if
If
that's anything resembling a steak, that's really good.
if it's ground, that's still good. Even if it's like
Yeah,
80-20.
ground, it's still good. Yeah.
If it's 90-10, that's excellent.
Yeah, because right now the 90 and HEB, does your HEBs have the stupid chubs or that little?
Yeah, we don't buy our ground at HEB. We've been buying from a butcher, and we're all
Yeah,
fold up on that because the price is comparable and it
it's a butcher's.
quality
Yeah,
is
it's
so
always
much
better.
better. Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Actually,
so much
that
fresher.
reminds me, I need to go hit the meat market out here. There are a couple of locals that source from the region,
Mhm.
and I need to go hit them up. But guys, you know, this was a very serious live, and thank you, Lucky, for coming in. But I
Oh
wanted
yeah,
to
thanks for having
end
me.
on a slightly more cheerful note. So let me see if I can. So this is important stuff, guys. What do the lines mean on your solo cups?
Because we all need a drink after this.
Because yeah,
We're all going to pour
yeah.
one out this evening. Yes.
So did you know that a lot of these cups actually those lines mean something?
No, I had no
HEB. So
idea. I
uh,
thought it was just like, a decoration or to help you grip the cup or.
right. So actually, that little thing at the bottom, so right
Uh-huh.
down here, if you fill it, according to them, is roughly an ounce. So I got to try that now. 5 ounces. This would be the wine. This would be a beer, which I don't believe because this is kind of a smaller cup. But yeah, this is the Red American Party cups, and apparently the solo cups, or even liquor, wine, beer, or if you want to drink water, amount of water you should drink 5 of those a day, right at that third line from the bottom.
And that's a minimum, folks. I'm big on
Yeah,
drink
you should
plenty,
drink
plenty
more.
of water. All the water.
Right. And also chocolate syrup to make chocolate milk, perfect amount of juice for a kid. So your kid's not crawling up the sheetrock 2 hours later because you gave him too much sugar. Oh, that's interesting. And actually, I saw articles like that. Monique, I use the solo cups for all my seeds starting. That's pretty cool. They do
Neat.
work really well.
An ounce of grenadine, Sprite, and ice for a Great Shirley Temple.
Yeah.
Uh,
And HEB is a chain of stores. They're in Texas. I think they're in Louisiana, but mainly Texas.
yeah, it's predominantly a Texas chain. I don't know if there are any in Louisiana. Only thing I've ever
Maybe
really
not.
seen in Louisiana is Brookshire Brothers. There are
Piggly
some
Wiggly.
Brookshire Brothers in Texas uh, so from what I've noticed, let's see, from central down south, it's pretty much almost 100% HEB. From like Waco-ish up, really definitely Dallas north, you'll see Publix, Kroger, and HEB, and maybe Berkshire Brothers some, but yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
about East and West Texas, but
So HEB has their own small fishing fleet. So all their seafood, most of it is sourced in the Gulf.
mhm.
They do import stuff from other places, but they source regionally. So their stuff comes from Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona, New Mexico, and their food's great. Milkmaid's quite excited. She's like, I
I
came in
know.
at a good moment.
Yeah, she got excited about the solo cups. Ready to party.
Yeah. So mental note, guys, if you're ever in an environment in an SHTF and you don't have a measuring cup handy, but you're trying to measure at least relatively accurately to put so much water in, like you mentioned earlier, Mountain House meal, you can actually use a solo cup and get a rough estimate of the amounts there.
I don't know,
So
Harvey's saying something about beer pong over here.
yeah, I could see. Oh, hey, Harvey, how you doing? I'm glad you made it. Yeah, they're also good for playing beer pong, most definitely. And don't forget the phones for the kids. You just need some good twine.
Oh yeah.
But well, anyway, guys, we're right at the hour and 15-minute mark. I did want to take some time to thank everybody once again. Lucky, thank you.
Thank you.
As you've noticed, a lot of us have been trying to collaborate because I think it really helps us all. Like we share all these ideas, and everyone looks at things a little bit different, and I think that makes for a much more useful show where we have all these perspectives. But thank you again, and everybody in the chat, thank you guys so much. Sounds cleaner. Okay, I got our reboot frozen. Oh no. She'll reboot and we'll all be offline. Anyway,
quick while she's not here.
That's terrible. Okay, that's so bad. Harvey, thanks for stopping in. Guys, have a safe and blessed week. Pay attention to what's going on. And remember, the little countries and little companies are like the canaries in the cave for bigger things to happen. So when you start seeing these little countries, South Africa, Sri Lanka, with the food, the riots, the massive inflation, we got to watch for that kind of stuff. So, Lucky, you have any parting thoughts for our friends?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I don't really have any pearls of wisdom at this time. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
And then put your running shoes in your car, folks.
Yes. Make sure you have shoes you can walk or run with at work or in your vehicle in case you got to change.
Or in your bag if you don't have a vehicle.
Guys,
yeah. I say, or in your bag if you don't have a vehicle, if you take public transport and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
Sneakers don't take a lot of space.
Nope.
But guys, be safe, and we will see you later this week. And don't forget, Lucky should do, what is a Squirrel Sunday? You calling it now? Tomorrow.
That's the unofficial name. Yeah, Squirrel Sunday.
The unofficial Monday.
It's our social Sunday. Yeah, at 3 Central tomorrow.
All right. Well, you guys be good. Don't forget her live. And is Ghost or Hutch, anyone else coming on this weekend?
This weekend, let's see. Tonight, I know Pinball's on because I mod for him. After that, usually North Shore goes on, and then I think other people kind of pop on and off. Angry's, I don't know what his schedule is. I think he's just kind of going on whenever he's able. He's kind of all
over the place because of his work.
Yeah, he had a sort of schedule at one time, but it's just kind of fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there will be a lot of other folks on. I want to say
North Shore came on last night and threw me off.
Yeah, I saw that. Let's see. Tribe has been on. I think. Let's see here.
I think who else?
I don't know if he's going on. Native might be on at some point. I haven't.
Comrade Radio came on earlier, and he kind of caught me off guard. I was out and about.
Yeah, I was on. I came in over there towards the end of his. Let's see.
Oh, hey, Milkmaid said Ghost is canning tonight.
Oh, that's right. Him and the see. How can I forget? Because I don't ever go over. Milkmaid would know that. Yeah.
Ghost has 2 channels now. He has the Ghost, and then he has Ghost Canning or something like that. Go look at his little video. He has another channel.
Okay.
So yeah, check it out because he keeps getting dinged on the first one. So he's trying to separate canning from I have things to say kind of channel.
Right.
So.
Okay.
But gang, be good. We'll see you guys. Wait, Shadow Scout Swede
is live right now. Okay.
Oh, I did not know about him. We'll go check him out. But thanks, Harvey. So guys, girls, check out these other channels. Go say hi. And until next time, you guys be safe. Thanks, Lucky.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye.